Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Man Behind Ministry podcast. As always, I'm your host, Minister Ryan Smith of the Virgin Street Church, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Season 1, episode 25. If you want to hear an awesome story about perseverance, about overcoming various aspects in life from a personal and public perspective, you don't want to miss this episode. Tonight, we have the awesome Minister David B. Watkins III, Assistant Minister to Dr. Blakney of the North Peoria Church of Christ right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's going to share with us an awesome story, and you don't want to miss it. Y'all, we're not going to waste no more time. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Season 1, episode 25, man. Episode 25. It's major, man. It's major. I think that's the silver year? Yeah. That's the silver. See, yeah. So we silver verified on the show, man. Can't believe we're 25 episodes in, and I've got a good friend of mine, Pastor David Watkins, Assistant Minister to the North Peoria Church of Christ, right here locally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. David, how you feeling, man?
Man, I'm good, man. Glad to be on the show. Glad to be honored. You know, Ryan, you're a superstar in this,
Here we go.
in this game. So I'm glad to be here with you, man.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I know. Made the transition because you were at North Peoria before.
Yeah.
As an intern.
Yeah.
And so now it's a whole different light now, man. Being officially having that assistant minister title, man. How's that feel, man?
It feels great, man. I'm honored to be back. I think I was here. I came in September 2009, and I stayed until 2013 or 14 or something like that. So
okay.
I'm glad to be back in the saddle and doing my thing.
Love it. Okay, so we're going to talk ministry, but this is also get to know you piece, man. So, I know you, but, of course, those online, maybe some folks less familiar with you, man. So we definitely want to get to know you, man, and just kind of let people know, yeah, we're ministers, we're pastors, but there's so much more to us than the sacred desk of the pulpit.
Facts, man. Facts. After preaching, who are you?
Yeah.
After preaching, then what?
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So outside of ministry, you are a husband, you are a father, man. Kind of talk to us about how marriage and ministries impacted you.
Yeah. Man, I've always been a guy that tries to be transparent. And so, the first 2 years of our marriage, it was rough, trying to learn who I was, learn who my wife was, and then marry that with ministry. And so, but now we're good. We kind of learned who we are. And as you get older, you develop into this person that life shapes you or even mars you to be.
Yeah.
And man, so it's good now. What I've learned, I read this book called Boundaries.
Okay.
Boundaries. My therapist recommended it to me. And it blessed my life, man. Boundaries taught me that it's okay to set boundaries, and it's okay to tell people no. It's okay to do that which is comfortable for you.
Right.
And you don't have to feel guilty for self-care. And so, man, that blessed my life.
Yeah, that's good because so many times, as you know, being the man of God, we're not given that luxury. Members can go on vacation whenever they want to and enjoy themselves, but let the man of God say, I'm going to take a couple of weeks or I'm going to take a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And it's not because of any issue or any transgression. Like, no, I just need a break. And it's like, what do you mean you need a break? It's like, what, don't you?
Yeah. It's like people think that just because you're a preacher and just because, you handle the word of God, that some kind of way it's a betrayal to God or the church.
Yeah.
If you get tired or want to take a break. And that kind of pressure for so long can affect you.
Definitely.
And so, man, I had to get me a therapist.
Yeah.
and
I have one too.
And she had to essentially tell me, like, are you crazy? Who else is expected to be this and do this? You know, and so I had to learn to stop accepting, you know, these limitations that people will put on you just because I'm a preacher.
Yeah.
And it has blessed my life.
Good. I love it, man. Good stuff. Also, man, we mentioned with family, you are not just a married man, you're also a father. You got 2 boys, man. You got 2 boys. And so as a new father myself, you know, our daughter, we're getting ready to have her first birthday next month, man. And so it's awesome. Now she's taking her first steps and everything, man. It's, especially being a girl dad, brings me to tears, man. Yeah. So about being a father, how has that just impacted just ministry and just how you view ministry in your perspective there?
Man, I'm a lot more patient. I'm a lot more perceptive, more grace for people. And I spend as much time with my boys as possible. Always have.
Yeah.
From the time that Braylon was born until when Caden was born, I've spent just about every summer with him. You know, swimming, going out to eat, you know, spending time. During the school year, we spend a lot of time together. And I do that intentionally to model behavior.
Yeah.
And one thing older preachers always told me that I wanted to listen to was spend time with your kids, right? And I when I was going through Southwestern and coming out, they would always say stuff like, man, I wish I would have spent more time with the kids.
Yeah.
You know,
I heard a lot.
Traveling and preaching and, you know, doing all that. But I always heard spend time with your kids. And so I do that unapologetically.
Good.
And, you know, what's interesting is about a couple of weeks ago, my son asked me, who's your hero? Right? I said something to him, and I don't remember what I said. Then he says, well, you are my hero. Man, you know, and I generally consider myself to be a thug. That brought tears to my eyes. So it lets me know that my time with them is they're noticing it, and they're paying off.
That's good.
That's just it, man.
Yeah. I love to hear that, man. And I heard that a lot too, man. Man, make sure you're spending time with your kids, man. I mean, it's biblical. We preach and teach it all the time about you know, leading your household well, because that's a good indicator of how you're going to be with the church.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's different now. Actually having your own household, having your own family, and now it's one thing to preach and teach, another thing to actually live it and feel it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Man, you know, what I learned about money is that money just affords you an opportunity. And so having the opportunity to spend time with my children, my wife, is invaluable to me.
Yeah.
And not saying I got a lot of money. That ain't what I'm trying to say. But I'm just saying, I'm blessed to be able to have those moments.
Yeah. Definitely. That's good, man. That's good. Question I try to always ask, because people, they see us preaching, they see us on the camera, and so it's like, okay, that's all that we are. Or one of the things, I love a good origin story, and so I love to read about it in books. I love to watch it in movies. One of my favorite movies is X-Men Wolverine Origins. So you kind of see how he became who he was, and so, you know, he's one of my favorite Marvel characters. But I just love a good origin story, man. So with you being the awesome gospel preacher that you are, man, if you don't know, hey, this man can preach, man. This man can preach. Yeah. So for you, people see where you are now, but what was that point in your life when you said, you know what, ministry is a calling on my life?
Yeah, man. So I was baptized at 9 years old by a gospel preacher in Daytona Beach, Florida, by the name of Freeman Green.
Okay.
And Freeman was just an awesome preacher and scholar. And he put me in this class, old school class, you know, the Timothy class.
Okay.
And all the young boys at church had to go in the Timothy class and learn the gospel and learn how to pray and all that. So out of that, I was baptized. I preached my first sermon at 10 years old.
Praise God.
And I had been preaching ever since. Well, around 13 or 14, I told my mama, I said, I don't want to preach. I want to go be a computer engineer.
Oh.
Right? And she punched me in the chest and she said, you gonna preach.
That felt like your own.
Yes. Okay. So I went to Southwestern and I started to really think about taking it serious. And a good friend of mine, Orlando Thomas.
Yes. Yeah.
And Dwayne Case. They have been going to intern with these preachers, intern with Brother Crenshaw, intern with Brother David Wilson. And they came back talking about expository preaching. And man, I was, what in the world is expository preaching? And they taught me expository preaching.
Nice.
And I went through Dr. Maxwell's class and he taught me expository preaching. And so then I just became hungry with the science of homiletics.
Yeah.
Right. I was trying to master two crafts at one time. Expositional preaching and homiletics.
Yeah.
And so I was watching all the guys that I thought were just great homileticians in and out of the Church of Christ, trying to build what style felt most comfortable to me.
Yeah.
So, man, I just tried to become a student of that which my mama punched me in the chest and told me I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to do it, I might as well try to be the best that I can be.
That's it.
So, that's kind of, and, sometimes I don't feel like I'm that great of a preacher, but I certainly appreciate whatever gift God gave me to do.
Sure.
Because I tried to master the craft.
Yeah. Now that's good. Definitely can tell that. I mean, now being in this realm and on the other side is when you're a child and you come up, you're kind of watching people preach, and you said, okay, but now being trained in it, going to school for it, and now actually being full time in it, you can see that it takes some work. It ain't just I'm going to lunch and then I'm gonna get up about 30-45 and make this thing happen. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Interesting. You mentioned earlier that your son mentioned that you're his hero, and so my question now is, who is your hero? Who were some of your mentors that affected you in your life?
Right. Dr. Blakney, certainly one of my best heroes, which is why I'm back in Tulsa today.
Right.
I've got several great gospel preachers who deposited into me. Dr. Blakney is one, Freeman Green.
Right.
Man by the name of Henry McFadden, he deposited into my life. And I'm a big Marvel guy too.
Yeah.
So, I've got some heroes off the television.
Okay.
But, because I derive meaning from movies and things like that. And so, I'm a Flash guy.
Okay. How about to say, what's some of your favorite movies?
Yeah, Flash is my dude.
Okay.
I love Flash. I love The Arrow. That's my dude.
Yeah.
So a couple of other folks, but
okay. Man, you mentioned Marvel, but then you number of DC characters.
You're right. Dude, you're right. Now, that is very true. Now, those are DC characters, but also Ant-Man.
Okay.
All of them dudes, man. I get into it. I get into it. I get into it.
Love it. So you mentioned your time at Southwestern, man. So we mentioned You being an awesome gospel preacher, man. You definitely put the work in, the time in, and it definitely shows. But people don't know, man. You can sing too, man.
See, you try to create some job. You try to set the internet on fire. Don't do it. But say that one more time for Malcolm Himes so I can send him this clip.
Yeah.
You know, and Dasha Day and all my haters, Kim Blakney. I'm calling my haters out.
That's right.
And say that one more time so they can hear.
I'm looking at the camera. I say,
Look at the camera.
So my boy David Watkins, right here. I got on him. My boy Dave right here. He is an awesome singer. Put some respect
on my name. On my name.
Put some respect on my.
I can't wait till this episode come out. Put some respect on my name. Yeah.
So the serious tip though, man. You know, as a preacher, coming up under the great Amy Johnson Walker, she often had you in the chorus room. You went on several spring tour trips with us, man. Anytime there was a part where we needed a preacher or a speaker, she had you on. So kind of talk to us about that experience being around the chorus and you know, you were around, like you mentioned, Malcolm and some of the great singers that came through Southwest.
Yeah, man, you know, that was the highlight of my time at Southwestern. Miss Amy really gave your boy a lot of grace. Yeah, I remember this one time we were in this performance. I don't remember where we were. And we were in the middle of performance and somebody was off. They were singing this off note.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm short, she would put me right in the front.
Yeah.
And so in the middle, so she'd looking around saying, it's off. It's that. And Melody Bailey and a couple of other people were around me and they start pointing at me. While the performance is going on, and I was tatted up, man. I was singing my heart out to Jesus with the off, you know,
making that joyful
note.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, everybody around me started laughing, and so really, she showed me a lot of grace, because I was a terrible singer then. Like, there's a difference between being bad and terrible.
Yeah.
I was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I might get away with bad now, but I was terrible then. But she showed me a lot of grace, man, and gave me a lot of opportunities that really I didn't deserve to have.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't have been on them tours. But she gave me a lot of grace, a lot of opportunity, and I'll be forever grateful for that.
Certainly. Miss Amy's definitely impacted a number of lives that have come through Southwest Center. Really, all of them have. All the directors that have come through really shaped a lot of lives. Switching gears, man, obviously you're back here in Tulsa, and you spend quite a bit of time here, and so it's no secret that if you spend time in Tulsa, you spend time in the Black community, you've heard about the 1921 race massacre.
Yeah.
And a lot of people outside of that community try to shun it and kind of sweep it under the rug, but one of the things I'm careful on, being a descendant myself, I make sure I publicize it. I make sure I talk about it. It's something that needs to be heard. A good friend of our family, attorney Demario Simmons, he's pushing, you know, for the survivors, pushing for the descendants, to get not only the attention that they deserve, that we deserve and need, but also reparations. So, Demario, we appreciate you and what you're doing for not only for the survivors, for the descendants, and just for our city. And so trying to bring the attention that we need, you know, and reparations that we need. So we appreciate you for that. So with you being now in Tulsa so much and spending time in this great community, talk to us about your experience, hearing about the massacre, some of the work that, of course, being under Dr. Blakney, we know he does a lot, you know, being, I think, former president of the NAACP chapter here in Tulsa. Kind of talk to us about, you know, just how that situation, that dynamic has shaped you and just being here in Tulsa as well.
Yeah, man. So the first time I heard about it was the first time I was in Tulsa, and some of the members was, you know, like, man, you never heard of the race massacre?
Right.
I said, no, I
Yeah.
haven't.
Right.
They didn't teach that.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
went to
And that's by design.
I went to school in Florida, and then I graduated high school in Georgia. And at no point do I ever remember that coming up in our history classes or anything like that. So I was educated by members of the church who taught me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, I became generally more curious about it. And now, obviously, being back in Tulsa, one of the scopes of the work that we're involved in with North Peoria is the receipt of a historic $1.6 million federal grant.
Mm-hmm.
And that federal grant is directly associated with the 1921 massacre and the effects of it after.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that the historic Greenwood District was victimized not only once, but twice.
Yes.
After the 1921 massacre, the resilience of Black people is amazing in that they rebuilt the neighborhood, right? More millionaires per capita in this community than anywhere in the country. White folks burned it down and bombed it, and Black folks, in an amazing act of resiliency, rebuilt that community. And then the government came in and re-victimized that community again by seizing that same land that they had just a few years earlier bombed. They seized that land by eminent domain and built a highway directly through the neighborhood. And this isn't a story that is simply just a Tulsa story, but this is communities in a good friend of mine, Levert Blount, does an amazing piece on TikTok about how the highway system in America is racist, in that they would go through these communities and seize property by eminent domain, pay the families little of nothing, won't even pay them fair market value for their property, and then build a highway through it. Because the white people had the money and the influence to deny it. They would victimize Black folks and brown folks for that. And so our study that we have now, funded by the federal government, is a study in which we will determine the feasibility of removing a 1 mile stretch of this highway that runs right through the Greenwood District. If you go downtown to the Greenwood District, you'll look up on Black Wall Street and see this disastrous monstrosity that runs right through the community. So I'm so happy to be a part of this historic time when not just a church, but a Church of Christ is being funded to potentially study and remove a section of that 1 mile stretch of Greenwood. And then if we're successful in getting the highway removed, and that's a big if, but if we're successful, then ultimately we intend to take that land and put it in a land bank, and then ultimately reissue that property back into the hands of Black and brown folks. So I'm excited to just be a part of this history-making, effort and agenda. And I applaud all of the folks who have been working in Tulsa over the years trying to get justice for Black Wall Street.
No, that's awesome. We appreciate just your insight, because when that article came out and published it about Dr. Blakney and the church and whatnot, I wanted to bring attention to it. It's important because that's the kind of stuff that it's not popular,
right? Because
they've tried to sweep that concept and that event under the rug for pretty much its whole existence, 400 years.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate Dr. Blakney, those who are working along with him, working alongside him, to make that, it's an if, but we're going to pray and make it a reality.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are so many great folks in this community that are working with us and have issued letters of support for the effort. The committee who is leading this effort are comprised of members of the community as well as members of our church.
Yeah.
And so we are making strides.
Yeah.
And we're going to involve the community here very soon to have a couple of community meetings, get people's input, figure out what is the community saying about this and how do they feel about it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And be sure to let me know and let us know, because we definitely, of course, as a sister congregation, we want to be in support of that. As a descendant myself, of course, Hazel Smith Jones, she was one of the oldest known survivors that was living in Tulsa from the race massacre. And so that weighs heavy with me. And then, you know, my aunt, Pamela Vincent, but of course, Porterfield, she's also a descendant as well. Hey, Pam, so we want to make sure we make mention. And so we have some descendants that are even in our congregation. And so we heavily follow the race massacre and things that are going on. So definitely be sure to let us know developments.
We certainly will.
Yeah. Okay, lastly, man, before we let you go, we appreciate you just for coming on and just sharing some time with us. We always like to just have a piece of encouragement, man. And so with ministry, as we kind of mentioned earlier, it comes with this set of challenges, man. And so there may be some individuals watching, colleagues in the ministry, fellow members who are just, like I said, we don't realize how important it is to you know, hear the man of God, hear the voice of God. It has its challenges, man. And so what's some advice you can give of the strained relationship between minister, member, pastor, and people?
Yeah, so, man, to be extremely transparent, I had an emotional break a few years ago. It was actually last year. It was a couple days after my birthday.
Yeah.
And I'm an entrepreneur, and I was in Dallas handling some business. And I was on the phone with a member, and she was telling me something that another member said. And I was responding, talking normally.
Yeah.
And I went from talking just like you and I are talking to yelling and then crying.
Wow.
Pulled off to the side of the road. Great. And what I didn't realize is that I did not know how to process feelings. As a man, as a black man, as a preacher, I was not equipped to figure out what to do with my emotions. And so because I didn't know what to do with my emotions, I just kind of ignored them and would just store them away or whatever the case may be. And then it was something about that moment that triggered me, and I snapped. I broke.
Yeah.
So I took a sabbatical off. I started going to counseling and therapy and that kind of stuff. But here's what I realized about after that moment. What I realized after that moment is that if you have not been trained on how to process your emotions and know where to put a thing, if you've not been taught to screen your phone calls, if you've not been taught to that the value of your ministry is not how accessible you are to people. If you've not been taught to assess whether or not you're in a space to deal with traumatic events, then all of those things just keep piling up and piling up. And in some way, it's going to come out. So what I've learned is that I can be a good preacher and not put up with everything, right? I can be a good minister and don't have to deal with your problems every time it comes to me. I learned that it just because it's your problem doesn't mean it's my problem. You know,
we sure ain't taught that.
No, we ain't taught that.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do it for my health because I got 2 boys. I got a wife.
That's it.
And I want to be around for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, so that I don't create unhealthy outlets.
Yeah.
You know, I had to learn how to deal with certain things in a healthy way. So my advice is that old, and I'm not sure it's that old, but it's certainly popular, that you can have Jesus and a therapist, you know, and both of them can teach you how to manage your trauma.
Yeah. Man, that's good. We appreciate just you sharing it. And I love asking that question because it's going to vary depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
You know, so you have a unique experience that no one else does.
Right.
And, you know, same with me, same with anyone else, you know, we would ask. So we definitely appreciate that. And we pray it's not only bless you, it's bless me, but bless someone else who may be watching and saying, you know what, man, I needed to hear that. Kind of like you said, you needed to have that breakdown to where it's like, you know what, okay, I need to take this thing a little bit more seriously than I am. So we pray for those online. We pray it's bless you and helps you, man. Just this whole episode, man, bro. We appreciate you, man.
Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity. You know, you're again a superstar. You're a vet in this game of podcasting and all of that. So I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last, before we let you go, man, we always try to have a segment where just let us know before we get off here, how can we find you, the ministry, and the church alone?
Yeah, so I'm preaching just about every Sunday at the North Peoria Church of Christ, 2217 North Peoria Avenue, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us at our website, northpeoriacoc.org. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on the new app Threads. You know, come follow me because I ain't got no followers on Threads. TikTok, wherever, man. Yeah, I love to connect with people and love to be of service.
Again, that concludes us, man. Season 1, episode 25. If you found value in this episode, this is a ministry. Like it, share it, subscribe to the page, man. We do this every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, Pastor Watkins, we appreciate you. Appreciate y'all being on with us. Until next week, we'll see you then. God bless you. God keep you. Peace.
Peace.